We recently took that Volvo you can see over there on a 3,000-mile road trip doing a lot of off-roading, and it's making a terrible noise that you'll be able to hear as I pull it into the shop. Not only that, but we're gonna be doing a couple of key upgrades that I noticed needed doing while we were on that trip. Let's get right into it, and I wanna get out of the rain. Well, I don't think I was doing it as we pulled in, but you might be able to hear it now.
We're also going to be checking in on the components that we installed to lift this. They were 3D printed. How did they last after 3,000 miles and a bunch of off-roading?
Yeah, I'm just not noticing anything wrong with the suspension on this side. Obviously, I'm no expert, but nothing's obviously loose. All right, I got the Volvo back here in the driveway so I can lay under it on the concrete without having to move a car out of the garage. I'm gonna lay under there. Leah's gonna shake it around and turn the steering wheel, and we're gonna see if I can hear anything or see anything that's clunking. This is my last ditch before I take it somewhere to have it professionally diagnosed. Okay, go ahead. I didn't see anything. Wait, do it again real quick. Oh. Feels like it's in the sway bar. Yeah, it's definitely in the sway bar. It's like it's the sway bar end links. All right, I think that's what it's gotta be. It's gotta be the sway bar end links. I think both of them might even be bad, but I don't know. I'm gonna replace both of them and we'll see if it goes away. If I could actually self-diagnose this thing, that would be a huge win. I'll get those ordered. We'll get them put in. We'll see if we fixed it. Well, while we wait for those sway bar end links to come in, you might notice the rear of the Volvo is squatting a little bit right now. That's because I've got it loaded full of weight so we can test and see how much of a difference these heavy-duty rear coils make. If you watch the Fire Lookout road trip, you know that I mentioned the back is really soft and was bottoming out a lot. Whee! Not only that, but it was squatting quite a bit, kind of negating the effect of the lift that we installed. So hopefully these bring back that lift when we're fully loaded and also make the car take big hits, big bumps a lot better. Another interesting thing is we can check on both our top hat spacer after driving about 3,000 miles, doing a lot of off-road, as well as our coil spacer here after doing even more miles than that. I think you can tell from the way that this is crumpled that this has been just completely bottoming out, like you can see there. And this is done. This part is held up really well. You can see a little bit of abrasion right there where it's been kind of compressed. That's where the coil kind of comes off of it. But over and all, this is not really flexed at all, just enough to fit the seat here. What the? How many times am I gonna have to do this? Let's see if I can cram it in the car and maybe it'll straighten out, I don't know. Nah, dog. Dog, something ain't right here, man. Shoot. What the f? Let's try and get one of the bolts started. Looking good. Crooked as hell, but I swear it's on there, right? I think it just needs to be forced onto the car and that'll straighten it out. I forgot to put these in, so now I gotta disconnect them on the bottom. Alright, moment of truth. Does it look like it's squatting any less in the rear here? By my estimation, this thing looks like it's sitting perfectly level. Though I did actually take measurements this time, so this is a little more scientific than the last lift. Here we're at about an 8.5, so we dropped over an inch. And here the story's about the same. So here, from wheel to wheel well, we are now at 10 inches. Which I believe is roughly what we were at before we put the weight in it before. Same here, just about 10 inches. On the trailer hitch here now, we're just about 13 inches. And then for the tow hitch here, we are at just about 14.25 inches. Now I've got to unload all this weight and we'll measure again. All right, so this is before we're going from the center of the wheel here up to the wheel arch, and we've got just under 10.5 inches. And on this side, we also have just under 10.5 inches. And then from the very uneven ground to the trailer hitch, we have just under 16 inches. Looks like about 16 3/4 on the hitch, just over 11 on this wheel, and just over 11 on this wheel. And definitely looking at it from this angle, you can tell there is a rake towards the front. However, I think I'm gonna leave it that way, as I do a lot of carrying a heavy stuff and towing the trailer with this car, so having a little bit of rake towards the front will help it be more level when I'm actually using it really hard. Now, to take it for a test drive, I did just realize that I should have taken it for a test drive with all the weight in the back, since that's more representative of when I'm actually using it, but you'll just have to subscribe to see my thoughts on that next time we take it camping. Dude, even unloaded, it feels so freaking much better. It's just better at taking big hits. This is so good. This is such a good mod if you're gonna be doing any heavy hauling or anything with your XC70. Super happy with this. All right, cut to Joel doing the next thing. All right, the exciting box came in with our sway bar Endlinks and a few other goodies. Let's get the Volvo in here and get them put on. We're doing this, okay. Go. The ones that we are putting back in are actually manufactured by IPD. They have a thicker bar here, and I believe they have a better joint up here that's supposed to be a little more durable. We don't really care too much about the thicker bar because we're doing off-roading. We don't really need the sway bar too much, but having the improved joint should help us out. I also feel like I ought to just give these guys one last cinch down. Oh yeah, those aren't very tight at all. What happens when you do a lift kit of this style, it's 3D printed plastic, and the parts, they flex to fit into the hole better, and then these get loose over time. We saw that on the road trip, and we're seeing it again right now. So I'm really gonna cinch these down. There were a couple other parts in the box of goodies, a cabin air filter that I just ordered to make shipping, but also with the amount of dust we go through, this car probably needs one, as well as some rear brake pads because they are just about shot and they're cheap to replace, and I don't want to do the rotor, and I noticed them while I was doing the rear lift, so might as well get them swapped out. This filter is like way thicker. So this is really interesting. I'm learning from IPD that there's actually a 1.5 inch slot and a 1 inch slot. And so I probably have the thicker filter now. So I need to remove that tab that you can see right here so I can put in the 1.5 inch filter. All right, yeah, I had to remove this piece of plastic, and now my thicker filter should fit in the other slot. Man, is it supposed to be this hard to shove in there? What a piece of shit. It does not fit. I can get it up to here by cramming it, and then I try and push it further and it just goes like this. And I can't get it to push up any further into the slot. I mean, yeah, I pushed it all the way in there and it was just sitting in there like this. That's not gonna filter anything. Why is this so difficult, man? I'm about to buy an OEM one just to see. I came across someone who had the same issue and they just trimmed it down with scissors. We'll try that. Well, now I've trimmed it and it's about as straight of a trim as something that's not very straight. But let's see if it'll just slide right in there now. I don't know how good of a job it's gonna do, but it's in there. And this is the last generation of Volvo before electronic handbrakes, so we don't have to digitally release the handbrake or anything. So this is the one that was really low on brake material. The other one actually has quite a bit left on it. If you know why brake pads wear unevenly from the inside to the outside, then let me know in the comments. Oh, this one's the same way. This one's really just about down to the metal. And then the one on the piston side has quite a bit of meat left on it. Yeah, I would say the pads on the piston side are only about half used. Well, it's time to see if all those awful noises are fixed. Well, we definitely fixed a problem, but there is still some noise, some creaks and clunking coming from the front end. I kind of did think that might be the case, but well, now we know for sure. I might have to have it professionally diagnosed, we'll have to see. So I've driven it a little bit more, and the sway bar Endlinks didn't really fix the large issue at all. They probably were bad still, but they were not the issue that I'm hearing And I've done a little more research, and I'm going back to my initial instinct. I think the strut mount bearings might be bad. So I'm gonna get Leah out here. She's gonna turn the steering wheel, and I'm gonna put my ear up to them. I think it might just be because we put plastic parts in here to lift this that they've compressed a little bit on our road trip, and I need to cinch them down. So I'm gonna try and do that and see if the issue goes away. That tightened a lot. Oh my God, this one is just loose. I should have checked this sooner. This would have been catastrophic. I'm gonna have to get the front of this aligned again, I think. Oh my God. So if you do this subframe drop with 3D printed parts, you need to check in on it probably every 1,000 miles for like the first few thousand. We drove like 1,000 miles home and up to that final lookout with the car's subframe loose. Wow, it's quiet. Oh my gosh, that is an easy fix, but not a good issue to have. Yeah, it's completely fixed, and I just realized I should probably also tighten up the rear just to make sure that's also tight. Those were also really loose. Well, like I said, check your spacers, check your subframe after doing this job, after driving a few thousand miles or whatever. No, before a few thousand, probably after like 500 or 1,000. Well, that's good to have fixed. I gotta call it the alignment shop though and get a new front alignment done at least. Honestly, maybe a full car alignment done again, I don't know. Yep, I've made myself another appointment for a 4-wheel alignment on this thing. The good news is you can save yourself the trouble by just checking on your bolts sooner than I did before the subframe starts shifting. The other good news is that I have a Patreon, so if you want to offset the cost of the second alignment, you can go support me over there, get behind the scenes, early access, ad-free videos, all that good stuff. I got this kind of neat little thing. It'll allow me to just leave it on here all the time, then I can hook up the trailer, or if I ever need to be yanked out of somewhere. All right, I got some black trim restoration as well as a headlight restoration kit. I'm not sure what this is gonna do to the trim since it's gray, but we'll find out. And then of course, we'll also try and tackle this. I have actually done the headlight restoration once before, but I did a very bad job. Comes with a gosh darn novel on how to clean the headlights. We're gonna get started here though, because if they're slightly wet when we start, it doesn't really matter. You've probably seen someone restore headlights before, so we're just gonna blast through this process and I'll show you the result afterwards and see if it worked. Man, I am completely out of the 3 pads that I have for this headlight. I know these headlights were in bad shape and I already tried to do this once, so there was clear coat I had to take out, but still, it's not gonna look good still if I just continue on like nothing's wrong. Well, I'm out of sandpaper and I'm getting real tired of this, so we're gonna move on to the next step. Yeah, you can totally see where it's gonna be hazy. It's gonna be hazy right around here and along the bottom. And I sanded this forever, but those sanding discs were just not enough to prep these. Well, I had some actual proper spray-on clear coat set up, but we're just gonna try using the wipes that they provide because I don't think that even if we use the proper clear coat, it would work very well. It does come with a second coat that we'll put on in 10 to 15 minutes. And honestly, these just kind of look like someone did a bad job of restoring headlights, which is better than what they looked like before and also incredibly accurate. Oh, and while we wait for that to dry, I was thinking I would just cinch these subframe bolts down one more time before we get it aligned tomorrow. And what's really fun is that the neighborhood cats like to shit in the driveway, and so I'm probably laying in cat shit right now. Well, during the sanding process, I was pretty sure this was going to be a nightmare, but now I think it's just a really bad dream. All right, that's it for me for tonight. It's gotten dark, as you can see, so I'm gonna head inside, but I'll have to get out here before we leave for the alignment tomorrow to get that back to black stuff put on, because I don't want to wash the car again. Have I mentioned that I hate sanding? Good night. Well, now that it's light out, maybe you can get a better look at the headlights here, but we're gonna get started on the black trim restoration. Especially like right here along the edges. This is where I could tell it was gonna still be bad, and of course it still is. But hey, at least it's better than it was. All right, that should have cleaned off all our residue from yesterday, or at least mostly. I'm gonna go around and mask off the paint and the headlights and that sort of thing so I don't get any of this stuff where it shouldn't be, because it can be damaging with that sort of thing. All right, I've gotten halfway around masking this curved fender and I'm saying screw it. we'll just hope for the best. I'm done masking. Yeah, reading the instructions again, this is masking tape is probably entirely unnecessary. You can tell me exactly how unnecessary it is and how much of an idiot I am down in the comments. We're gonna get started putting this on with a microfiber sponge. I have no idea what this is what they mean by a microfiber sponge, but this is what I have. This has actually been super satisfying to apply. Apparently what you're supposed to do is just wipe all of it off, including the stuff where you applied it when you're done, and that'll keep it from staining the paint or anything. I mean, it ain't a perfect job, but I'd say the car looks a heck of a lot newer, at least it will once this stuff stops looking so shiny. For now, it just looks kind of cheap. Get all the masking tape off and then get over to our alignment appointment. Well, yeah, like I said, it doesn't look perfect just like the headlights, but hey, those two things probably took a couple, 3 years off the age of this car.
Right, heading home from the alignment shop now, and it was really far out of spec, so it's definitely a good thing I brought it back in there to get it aligned. I think we had like -2 degrees of camber up front or something, so it's all good now. I'll be keeping you updated if it comes out of spec again, so make sure to subscribe for that. But also subscribe because I go on about a 300-mile camping trip with Menko the cat out of the Oldsmobile Delta 88. That's like a 40-year-old car now, so I think that's a really good video. I'm looking forward to sharing it with y'all. Make sure to like this one if you liked it. Leave a comment down below if you've got any advice on the lift or anything else I did in the video. I guess that's all I got. I will see you again next week. Thanks so much for watching.